What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we are going to be giving first impressions on two very new and very exciting knives. These are knives that I was actually super stoked to get my hands on. One of them is a Wii, and that's the Wii Press Check. So the Wii Press Check is one that I've been probably the first Wii in a long time that I'm like, I want that. And then the second one we're going to check out is the Civivi Chevalier. Now that's one that a lot of you are probably interested in, probably more so than the Wii. But we're going to start off with the Wii and we'll end with the Chevalier. This is the Wii Press Check. Now the Wii Press Check is a knife that is a bolster lock, titanium with G10, and it's the first G10 in a long time, probably since the Arsenal from Wii, that I really actually enjoy the look of. This bolstered titanium has this stone wash or black wash finish, and it looks, I literally fell in love with the aesthetics of this thing just in pictures, so I couldn't not do it. I'm just noticing this flipper tab. It's kind of goofy looking. We'll see what it looks like when it's open. It is perfectly centered. There is no detent lash, but it kind of feels like a weaker detent. You guys can see me kind of moving it. That's not really detent lash. It's literally about to break. So that's probably to accommodate the fuller and the reverse flicking nature, which does work really well. So this knife is really good looking. I believe this is a 20 CV blade, and so I could have totally done without that too. Look at this side, and look how clean this aesthetic looks. And then we go over here and we see the Elishewitz logo, which is fine. I think it's cool that you're branding your stuff, but on the same token, like, this was such a clean looking knife, and then that pops, and you're like, ah. So there is no up and down, there is no back and forth. The flipper tab, I mean, I still don't understand why it's so damn big. The sharpening choil is pretty large, but it does accommodate the plunge grind quite well, as we can see here, so that's a good thing. This is a really cool drop point with this harpoon here, and that is right where your thumb, it's actually a little bit shallow. My thumb kind of wants to ride up here if I'm going to do that, or the hammer grip right here. In saber grip form, as you can see here, it does work, but it pushes your hands to the back, and the problem with knives that tell you where to grip is that it kind of wraps around back here, and it fits. And it blends in with the gloves, but it fits, but barely. I do feel kind of scrunched in there. The pocket clip is not a bad looking pocket clip, and it's not their typical pocket clip either. It is a fold over deep carry, but it's different. It's titanium, it's milled, it is ambidextrous, and it is recessed. But unfortunately, they recessed it on both sides. Now, I actually don't mind this aesthetic, but, you know, it would have looked, it's a clean looking knife. It would have looked much cleaner had you not done the ambidextrous. It's already a right hand. Look, that's a right-handed knife right there. We've already accepted it. Stop trying to make it a left-handed knife. As we can see here, we got this pretty monstrous backspacer with this aggressive, it's almost like swedged out, but it does not really affect you in the palm of your hand because it does kind of fall into the crease right there. Same thing with the pocket clip. I don't feel either one of those. My biggest complaint so far is there's not enough room for my hands, and I want to love this knife so damn much. I love the bolster lock idea. It's just, why did you make it for children under the age of 15 as opposed to the adults that are going to buy this damn thing? Because, yeah, that's a problem. Everything else so far, including the action out of the box, is pretty outstanding. I think this is a great looking knife. If you have smaller hands, then you're probably really going to love this. Or if they made this a half of an inch longer on the handle, I would have really loved this. I believe the price point on this was coming in right around $250, which, you know, for a Wii knife is a little high, but with the Elishewitz design and the different stuff that they actually have going on here, I'm not too mad about that price point. Last, I want to point something out here. They actually did something really cool. So as you see this blade closes, it actually falls into this cutout of the backspacer. Now, I know it's not a big deal and it should be expected, but you don't see this that often. It's actually like a milled out portion so that the blade does not interface with the backspacer, causing issues or dulling of the blade or chipping of, you know, it's just, that's a really cool little touch, and I get it, they had to do it. I've just never seen it before, and I think it's pretty cool. This was the Wii Press Check. Let's get on to the Civivi Chevalier. So this is the Civivi Chevalier. This is the micarta version with a black wash blade. I believe this is Nitro V blade steel. In typical Civivi fashion, coming perfectly centered with an ambidextrous pocket clip that is a fold-over deep carry with a bill, your typical standard clip. The pocket clip screws kind of look like they're T6. Everything else looks like it's a T8 in typical Civivi fashion. There is a little bit of detent lash, but it is a button lock, so it's like one of those things where I guess we give it a pass. As you open the blade, it does have a ton of shouldering around that stop pin, which is cool, and then there is a ton of milling on the inside of this, and, you know, Civivi does that right. I think that, you know, keeping these things as light as possible and continuing to do what they do is a good thing. In the process of looking at that milling, we also found their typical dog-boned lanyard post, which is another cool thing that they do. Now, onto this blade shape. This blade shape is a sheep's foot style blade shape. Let's see if we can find the blade steel. Found the blade steel. It is written super tiny. Right, doesn't want to focus right there. And I was wrong. It is not Nitro V. It is 14C, which is arguably better to some. And that's a cool thing. So the action on this, as you can see, is pretty darn good. Reverse flicking is easy. I do have a complaint already, but we'll get to that. The button whip opens kind of easy, and then you have the flipper tab, which is nice as well. So this blade shape is really nice. The neutral ergonomics are very cool. They did a plunge grind with the sharpening choil very well. Typical things that reviewers look at. Now, on to the next. So, I actually have a concern here. My conspirator. So here is my concern. The conspirator, I actually don't have any issue accessing that button for some reason. I don't know if it's just a little bit bigger than the Chevalier. The button's the same size, but I don't know if the cutout's the same or not. Now, I don't have any problem with the conspirator getting that button. This button, though, it doesn't feel as good to depress. It's definitely a more shallow button, which some may like. It feels like it's a little bit more recessed into the scales, which I am not even sure if that's accurate. I'm just telling you based on feel. This feels tight. It feels tight to get my finger on there. And that's kind of a downside for me for a button lock because it's supposed to be a fidget toy. I mean, that's kind of the idea behind button locks. Anybody that tells you it's there for function over fidgetiness, you're cracked out. That's not the case, right? But all in all, aside from access to the button lock, the blade shape is so nice. And honestly, sheep's foot style blades are probably the best style of blade for everyday use. And this really just typical sheep's foot. It's just really good. No back and forth, no up and down, perfectly solid. I think this is another home run for Civivi. I know they're going to sell a lot. And you're going to see me compare it to the Conspirator coming up here. But there is another contender which you guys have probably, some of you may have heard of, but I recently heard of and got my hands on. And we're going to go over this in another first impressions video. But that is the CJRB Feldspar button lock. Now, some of you guys might be going, Jake, oh, they didn't do any cutouts around that button. It just kind of looks slapped in there, blah, 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 blah. I don't mean to demean that voice, guys, but I have no problems accessing the button with this. It is actually a really cool function, and it's so damn smooth. It's nice. The one downside is I do have just a hair of up and down, which I'll take apart and see if we can do anything about it or see what's going on there. But you will see the CJRB Feldspar button lock in a showdown going on with this. And just to throw even more problems for the button lock contention, we have your Kaiser Original. We have your Civivi Altus. I just happened upon a ProTech Malibu. Yes, guys, I have a lot of button locks, and we're going to be doing comparisons to the all-important ProTech Malibu, which seems to kind of hold the highest esteem when it comes to button lock knives. So we will be doing an epic showdown. I've kind of already did a show and tell of the Civivi Altus, the Civivi Conspirator, and the Kaiser Original in showing which one I would prefer. But I have more button locks to kind of show off now, and I really want to find out which one I could recommend above all else. Now, stuff like the Kaiser Cormorant, you're out the window. I don't really care about the Kaiser Cormorant. The Spyderco Smock isn't going to make it to this because it's not quite a button lock, and it doesn't really feel like a good comparison because the Smock will decimate everything. I love the Smock. Here is, once again, your Wii Press Check and your Civivi Chevalier. Which is my favorite amongst these two? If you're going to make me choose, I'm going to say the Wii Press Check solely because I just love the way it looks. And with the Civivi Chevalier, I know that I'm going to carry the Conspirator more. So, you know, it's kind of like a and this button access thing really kind of irritates me. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, and have a great freaking rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, guys.